couple of meeple. In this episode, we're talking about Adventure Time Card Wars, the 2-player dueling card game set in the land of Ooh.
Yeah, and this one we were both really excited for because we're both big Adventure Time fans, and one of our favorite episodes is the episode where they play Card Wars, like this futuristic card game.
Because when they're fighting, it's exactly like how we fight when we're playing games. It's pretty great. We'll link to it.
Yeah, in the description, check it out below. We'll link to that scene. We were both really excited for this game because obviously it's based on that game, and like I said, we're big fans of Adventure Time, so you picked this up a couple weeks ago, I think?
Yeah, it was awesome. Also, I am friends with the guys over at Cryptozoic, so full disclosure, I love the guys over at Cryptozoic.
Yeah.
So really happy they're making this one.
So this game is it's a pretty straightforward game. It's a 2-player lane combat game, similar to SoulForge on the iPad. A lot of similarities between the two. Essentially, you've got a board in front of you that's got 4 different landscapes, and you put those head-to-head against the other player, and each of those 4 landscapes represents a vertical lane towards your opponent that you can play cards into. Each player is going to pick a character from this box. There's Jake and there's Finn, and each of those has an associated deck, and each deck has a unique setting. So you've got the blue plains, and you've got the cornfields in this particular box.
Both players start with 25 life, and the goal is to reduce your opponent to 0, so kind of like Magic the Gathering.
Each turn you're going to draw a card, and then you have 2 actions to spend on your turn. Each card you play from your hand goes into one of the 4 lanes on your side of the board, called landscapes, and each card you play will either cost you 1 or 2 of your actions. So typically bigger cards that you play will cost more actions, both actions I should say, compared to the smaller creatures and buildings you'll play, which will only cost 1 action.
And then you can do the most fun thing, you can decide to floop them. Flooping is tapping, basically.
Yeah, you turn the card sideways.
Or maybe tapping is flooping, and we just didn't know.
The existential question that will go forever unsolved. And when you floop a card, it's sort of a special ability. So anytime you floop a card, it usually will say on the card, this card does such and such. So you tap it, floop it for its special ability. Then you have to attack with all of your unflooped cards. Each card attacks the lane in front of it. If there's no defender, the damage from the attack goes to the player on the other side, and they take that much damage. If there is a defender, each creature will exchange damage to each other equal to their attack, and potentially kill each other. You can also spend one of your actions on your turn to draw a card from your deck, and you also have to have a number of face-up landscapes equal to the number of actions that the card costs. So for example, if a card costs 2 actions, you have to have at least 2 face-up landscapes of the type that match it. This is a kind of a weird mechanic because very few cards in this box actually flip landscapes face down. I mean, there are a couple, but I have yet to play a game where we've run into a situation where we couldn't play a card because we didn't have enough of our landscapes face up.
Agreed. It's unlike where you have to build up mana, say in Magic the Gathering. Like, you automatically have the 4 out from the beginning, so you can just kind of get right into it.
Yeah, it's a little strange. I feel like it's a little tacked on or a little unrealized. But maybe with future expansions, there'll be like whole decks built around the mechanics of flipping landscapes face down so your opponent can't play cards.
And we actually haven't played with the BMO versus Lady Raincorn decks yet, so maybe that's what happens in those.
But that will be coming to the channel.
Yes.
Very soon.
Yes. I just need to get my hands on a copy. Okay, well, do you want to talk about what we like and don't like?
Yeah. I mean, that's basically it for the gameplay. So I, for one... I really like the titles of all the cards. They're just absolutely ridiculous.
There's Patchy the Pumpkin, and there's Gnome Snot, which, I mean, you get to say things like, I cast Gnome Snot on your...
My favorite is Cerebral Bloodstorm.
That would be his band name if he had one, I think. The theme is great, especially if you're an Adventure Time fan. This game is exactly the game they play, maybe minus the holographic element to it.
And the art is really good. It's either taken directly from the show or looks like it was taken directly from the show.
Yeah.
And it's really hilarious. It's got that Adventure Time style to it.
It's really quick to play. Super quick to play. Very portable, too.
Yeah, and the playtime is obviously one advantage it has going for it. Really good travel game, and really easy to finish a game and say, hey, let's play again.
Yeah.
So that's one of its main strengths.
Also super funny. I mean, every time you play, I giggle just because you get to say things like, I floop the pig, and I cast Gnome Snot. So one of the cards is called an embarrassing bard, which is just fantastic, because that's like every bard in every like campaign ever.
My favorite is the archer. That's literally a corn cob wearing an archer's outfit.
Is that the corn Ronin?
Yeah, no, the corn Ronin. The corn Ronin.
So great. Anyway, like you can tell, we just have a really good time just playing every card. Whenever you put it down, it's gonna.
It's a fun game to vocalize.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Some of the things that I don't like about it personally is that while it is very simple and it is amusing and it can be a good time, I feel like there's a balance issue with the two decks that come in this box. I feel like the Cornfield deck is way easier to play and way more powerful than the Blue Plains deck. And I feel like some of the mechanics in this game, like what we talked about with the landscapes being flipped, and also some of the deck synergies in the game, I feel like aren't quite as realized as they could be. Like you can kind of see the idea that they were getting at behind making each of these decks and sort of how each of them would develop a play style. But I don't think they're quite tuned and finally defined enough while you're playing. So that's a little disappointing.
Agreed. We've played this several times actually, and what's strange is that in other deck building games or in other games, it doesn't really matter what faction we're playing, but I feel like with this one, well, definitely with this one, whoever ends up with the Cornfield deck wins every single time.
Yeah.
I think part of that is when I first started playing with the Blue Plains deck, when you first get your hand, you don't really realize what can work well together until like you're pretty far in the game and you've already lost like 20 health from the Cornfield player. I feel like the Cornfield player can just come out at like attacks blazing.
Yeah.
And the
have
Blue Plains I think takes a little bit longer to
get going.
Get going.
Yeah. And the Cornfield deck has like I think creatures that are buffed more easily than the Blue Plains deck.
True. And I think that goes back to the whole lane thing. Like they get buffed by the landscapes that are out, but I don't think that the Blue Plains deck mitigates that very much.
I also don't like that the components are kind of cheap. I think the cards are fine.
Yeah, I mean it's a really like mean way to say it, but it could be a little bit higher quality.
Well, especially the tokens that track damage. Like we were punching those out of the punch board and they were like ripping.
Yeah, I think we're kind of elitist when it comes to components in board games. I mean, punching cardboard is like one of my favorite activities in the entire world, but if I'm punching it out and the components tear, I get really frustrated.
Yeah, and it's like you're making a game that is meant to be handled and touched, so it has to be able to stand up to somewhere. When you're immediately pulling it out of the box and stuff is ripping, it's kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Not a deal breaker by any means. It's the tokens are really only used to track damage. You could track damage with dice if you wanted, but.
Which brings us to the other thing, is that there's no way to keep track of health straight out of the box. So you have 25 hit points, which I guess you could use with damage counters, but it's not really easy to tell what damage the other person has taken. So we usually use like a d20 and like a d6 and just kind of count down, but like just kind of frustrating. There's not like a thematic thing, like a simple cardboard wheel counter or something.
Or even just come with dice. Come with like, just have the game come with 2 d30s or something.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a little kind of crappy, but Magic the Gathering is one of the most popular card games of all time, and they don't have a way to track health.
It's true.
So,
but I mean, overall though, like it's a quick game, it's super fun, it's funny. Like I'm super excited to see the other decks and how you can build your own decks, to see how those play.
Yeah, the format of this release, which is a small box with 2 decks, I think maybe it kind of hurts the game a little bit. If maybe it had been a larger box with 4 decks in it, I think it would have been a much better feel to being a complete game. Because right now it feels kind of like an introduction or a preview to a full game that's going to come out in little bits of expandable chunks.
Right.
So
I think it'd be like if Dominion only came out with like half of the cards that it came with in the full game. But then again, it is kind of nice just to like pick up a box that's just Fenn versus Jake. So I don't know.
Well, yeah. So we will see what the next couple of packs hold for this game. But
I'm so excited for BMO.
Yes, Lorraine. I give this particular box. I give it 3/4 of a floop.
3/4 of a floop.
Yeah,
That's so low.
Not fully flooped, and not flooped twice, but 3/4 of a single floop.
I give it 1.5 floops. I really wanted to I want to love this game so much more, but I have to say the components kind of bother me a little. But maybe when we review the other decks, we'll give it'll start to get more floops in the right direction. So,
and that is Adventure Time, Card Wars, Finn versus Jake. Be sure and hit subscribe, and we will see you in the next video.
Go forth and floop the pig.